stream sounded good. No echoing, so that's great.
I even put makeup on.
Oh, the hair looks nice. Look at me sucking up already.
I didn't even get a first line in. You look beautiful, Heather.
We're gonna have fun. That's the main thing.
Oh man.
Awesome. Well, yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Tiffany and Kevia have been on once before, but
Yep.
a long time ago. And those videos all went really well. So people that are watching, you can check them out too. We'll probably throw some links up in the bottom of the description if I remember.
Kevia, did you ever do a podcast?
Yeah, Kevia was on with us.
Yeah, I did it with Josh probably a few months, probably before my show in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
So last year.
Yeah, I think you were getting ready for it.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I was just getting this pretty close.
Yeah.
And Leah is never been on it before. Leah is like our veteran.
Yeah. So
veteran.
We're gonna let's get this going. We'll jump right in because honest to goodness, this has probably been the podcast that I've had the most questions for so far.
Yeah. Oh God.
So, let's just jump right in. I know Kevia has to go to sleep. So
all right.
I'm up now.
I'm ready.
He's good for a half hour anyway.
So.
Oh my! This is going to be a lot longer than a half hour. You wait.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
good. Lots of content. That's what we need.
So everyone here pretty much knows Kevia and Tiff. If not, there's videos about them.
Mm-hmm.
So Heather and Leah, there, if you want to introduce yourselves, that would be fantastic.
Sure. You go first.
You go ahead. No, you go first.
Last. Heather Leblanc, so promoter, IFBB Pro Judge, I seminar facilitator, director. I've been involved in the sport since 2004 when I first did my first bodybuilding show in lightweight. You were at that show, Leah. You were really nice to me too. Yeah.
Yeah, thank God.
Thank God.
But so it's been 20 years. 20 years I've been involved in the sport. And the only reason that I'm involved in it is all because of Jean. Because if I hadn't met Jean and started dating, I would never be where I am today. And it's funny because when we started dating, he said, I'm so glad to have met you and started dating you because I didn't want to date anyone in the bodybuilding and industry circle. So I'm so fortunate that I came to know you. So that is funny because I probably became his worst nightmare after that. So I was more involved than he ever was. So anyway.
Or thought of being,
brought him right down the road.
Yeah. And Leah is above me. She's one of our judges. Go ahead, Leah.
Yeah.
So, currently I judge. That's my involvement in it lately. But I started back in 2002, backstage. 2003 was my first show in Nova Scotia where I competed in figure. It didn't even look like bikini now. But anyway, it's evolved a lot.
Right.
I won the show in 2011 overall for women's physique, and then I won my pro card in 2013. Then I won my first pro show in 2014, went to the Olympia the following 2015. So
wow,
that's so cool.
That's my involvement. Yeah, I've spoken at a few seminars when invited by Heather, but otherwise, my last show was in 2018.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
But don't be bashful there. You came 11th at the Olympia out of like 30-some girls.
Oh yeah. You gotta talk about that. That's awesome.
That's a great accomplishment.
So I was really fortunate Oh my!
To say the least.
It's crazy because the first day, yeah, the first day you of the competition, it was a 2-day thing. If you didn't come top 15, you didn't even advance to the second day unless you just, I mean, you did. You just walked across the stage and got a rose. So you didn't get to do your routine or anything like that. So my goal really was to be top 15. So I got it. So I think I covered everything on my bucket list. After that, I was pretty satisfied. I did do a show or two afterwards, but I really just like being involved in terms of judging or speaking at seminars now. Retired.
Yeah.
And you're happy with that choice of retirement?
Well, it's nostalgic when I go to shows where I'm like, oh, I really want to do that and feel that again. But I think I don't know. I've done it, and now I can vicariously feel it through the athletes, which is why I'm usually the judge behind the, table with the biggest smile, because I'm actually flexing on.
I get that. Yeah.
Nice.
That's cool.
For sure. Yeah. Also, before we keep going, last time we did this, something really cool happened to Kevia. If you want to make the announcement, I'm sure everybody knows it, but he is now a judge as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us the experience of becoming a judge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
no, it's been an awesome experience. I did my first test judging for the last year. Getting prepared for my first pro show, the Ben Weir. So I was, dieting and didn't really know how I fared out with the test judging, but lo and behold, I passed, and I made my first official judging appearance at the Atlantics, and my second judging appearance was just past weekend. So really excited about it. It's different. Still feeling involved with the sport. Am I retired? I don't know. Semi-retired, but right now I'm still enjoying being involved with the sport and watching the other athletes, the new athletes as they evolve. So it's definitely still a learning experience. I'm trying to learn from Heather and Tijan, learn the ropes, and just keep getting experience doing judging shows. So no, it's awesome.
Perfect. So Kevia, what's when you're tested for judging, like what's that about? Is it questions on physiques, whether they fit the criteria? What's that testing about?
Well, actually, your test judging, you start off basically judging a show. Your scores, correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, but your scores don't count as a test judge. So basically, you're trying to get your scores as equal to the head judge or the other official judges as possible, so that you pass, right? So your scores, the scores that I put down, have to be in line with either one or two places off from the head judge, and that goes to Ron Hashi, and he basically marks all the who's the president of the CPA. He basically marks all the test judging and makes the final decision as to if you're going to move on. So I was really excited to get that email saying that I passed.
Oh,
so.
Cool.
How come you have never wanted to test judge, Jamie? Because
I've never really had the offer to do it or anything like that. I did a St. John show way back in the day with Greg Doucette, Cupkey, and when it was small, but that's as far as it ever went with me that way. I'm pretty much out of everything until it comes to competing. I have a busy life, and it really doesn't. I would love to do that, something like that when I feel the chance. Okay, I'm going to be retired, but how many times did I retire? 5. Yeah. So anyway, but it's kind of something that would be fun to do, and I would love to do it.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, Ron actually has to approve you being a test judge as well. So it should be sent to Ron and myself, and he makes the final decision on a lot of the judging aspects, which we'll probably talk about later.
Yeah, interesting. That's cool. And Tiff, anything new going on with you?
Yeah, what's your plan?
Oh, my plan.
You were a great presenter at the Halifax show, so that was great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. My plans, pending my blood work and all that stuff comes back great this week. Going to move into a build season, and my goal is to do Atlantics in 2025 to hopefully qualify for the Toronto Pro Qualifier, and hopefully it happens there for the Masters. So that's my goal, is to see what happens there. So
keep pushing.
Yeah. I just like competing. I just like competing. Here. So it's like every time I do a show, I'm like, oh, this might be my last one. And then I'm like, but I really like doing it. But eventually I will have to slow down just with life and family and stuff like that. And my next kind of trajectory would be, I would like to be a judge. So, yeah.
Cool.
And still pose, like teach posing.
Yeah.
That's been taken off. I've been extremely busy with that. So, yeah, that's been going really good. So.
That's wonderful. Cool. We got all that out of the way. I just have to take a sip of my anti-anxiety tea, calming tea. Thank you very much.
Is that what you sent me, Josh, to drink? I don't know. I just been drinking it. I've been drinking like second cup now.
Okay, yeah.
I wish I had Does it keep you up?
Very afraid.
All right. Okay. Elephant in the room. Let's just get this out of the way.
Okay.
Let's do it, Heather. All right. So a lot of people don't know this, but there was a podcast that happened a while ago with Lee Priest and Tijan. It was really good. It was good. It was edited to shit, but it was really good.
But we need to talk about why.
Yes, and that's what we're gonna do to get. But
I love it.
It was edited to shit. I couldn't edit no more.
When it's my turn, I'm
ready. But what I was able to do was edit it and made a nice, good video that was wholesome and clean. And I took all the crazy shit and made a separate video with that and cut out Tijan. So he wasn't a part of it, and I get it. I totally understand, but at the same time, man, it's Lee Priest. I was hoping that you kind of know who this guy is going into the show and kind of expect what he was going to talk about. And that was my feeling, that hopefully everything was going to be okay and it was going to be a good show. But it didn't turn out that way.
And I don't think that really, I think there was a few factors. I think that it wasn't really properly communicated how it was all going to unfold. Because what we thought was, when he was approached, it was a podcast between him, you, and Lee, and they were going to talk about bodybuilding in the old days and some of their experiences and things that they did, and all the crazy things that they did back in the day.
Right. Yeah, it didn't go that way.
Right. So
there was a lot of crazy, but
not that he didn't like he loves Jamie and Andy and Devin, and that's not the issue. But when he got on, he said, he looked at me and he goes,
"Oops,
what are all these people doing here?" And I said, just go with it. So that happened. So anyway, to make a long story short, during the podcast, we all know what Lee Priest is like, and we know that he has no filter, and he's obviously, very vocal and verbal, and he can be a little vulgar. I mean,
kind of does the shock filter thing.
So the problem was that Jean is not that he's a feminist, but he's very, very sensitive to comments about women, and he was really uncomfortable.
There was a couple kind
that
of like
uncut version, right? Yeah. And Jamie, this is why I wanted you to hear this from me, because I know you said in your greeting with Josh and them that, well, he walked into it. He knew what he was, he knew what to expect. He should have expected, but he didn't. That's why
I know. But what I did say is the Lee Priest that we all know, there was a video before that, and it should have been maybe watched a little bit just to see where it goes and what happens.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
John never would have, thought he would have to do that.
It's during the moment when we're talking and it's thrown out, and that's what was said.
Yeah.
Like, to me, talking about, women on their periods and PMS and the gross stuff that he was saying. And then, there was another part where he was talking about his sexual experience with women.
When Lee goes on with his stuff, you just can't believe it. It's actually like so out there that it takes over you. You laugh and you just embrace what he's saying. And it's cool. Lee Priest. He was my idol for as long
that's cool
as
for you. But you have to understand what where John's coming from. He's a promoter.
And I totally respect John.
Judge. He's a bodybuilder from 46 years. He got an award from the Manions in 2018. He talks to Ron weekly. So you have to understand that he really had to exclude himself from those types of conversations because it would have hurt his reputation if he had sat there and went along with it. It's like, oh, yeah, that's funny, ha, ha, ha. And all of a sudden, these competitors...
Well, Kevia, you have no idea. It was
your
nasty.
promoter's a pervert. He's going, that would happen.
Tijon did not go along with any of it. I watched him. He just sat there. He didn't do anything wrong. He just sat there and on his corner like you have and like we have, Lee was up there and Tijon just sat and listened and Lee went on as Lee. I could see
Yeah. So the point I'm trying to make is that the whole entire story wasn't revealed in that last podcast about why. Right. The justification wasn't explained, so that's why I'm explaining it. I don't want Lee to think that Jean doesn't like Lee. It's not about that, or he didn't like, being on the podcast. He liked being on the podcast, but he just couldn't be a part of some of those comments because he does have a reputation and he holds that very sacred. So
the social aspect and like the professionalism attached to
integrity, right? Respect. They want to lose respect from, the women out there. And at that time also, one more thing you forgot is that the IFBB Pro League were under a little bit of scrutiny and heat by the other federation, Physique America. They're bringing all these allegations forward about J.M. Mannion. So at that time, it was already a little
foot and mouth kind of thing there.
Thorn in the side.
Yeah.
Right. So we didn't want to escalate that situation either with Jean being part of that podcast and listening to, Lee's sexual adventures.
Yeah.
So, and I don't really know the man. I can't say that, he's derogatory, towards women. I don't know him well enough to say something like that. That's not what I'm saying. Just saying that Jean, because of his status, his title, he just didn't want to be seen or perceived as somebody that was encouraging that type of talk and behavior.
Got it.
Is that cool?
Yeah, that clears. Yeah,
that's cool.
That puts it out and clears. Yeah, and eventually, over a day or two after that podcast, Heather and I worked it out. Everything was good.
Yeah, it was a great cut version.
But it was being okay.
But tell Lee, no disrespect. Just I guess it's all about reputation, and John just didn't want to be. I guess.
Yeah. I think it's understandable.
I think that's fair.
That is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for throwing me under the bus.
Well, I was there. I got called chicken shit by Greg Doucette in front of thousands of people.
And I messaged him too, and I said, well, thank you, Greg, for not going along with them and throwing us under the bus. He started laughing. He goes, I loves you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. If anyone watches that video, I suggest you to watch Greg and Lee's faces during that whole moment. It's actually pretty funny.
At the end, he was a good sport. He said,
"Oh yeah, of course, yeah." They just
anything bad, so that's good.
I
wouldn't want to be criticized by Lee Priest.
No thanks.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Okay. I can.
Now you can take your coat off.
Yeah.
I know you must be sweating.
Sweat. Yeah. I'm just covering up the sweat stains.
So we're on to the judging and that aspect, are we?
Yeah, let's get into a little bit of judging before you get. I got quite a few questions here. I'm not sure if people sent you guys questions too. But
I got some ridiculous ones. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to mention them but yeah, I got some questions here too on my side.
That's up to you guys. We can maybe mention them if you want to answer.
Quite ludicrous and ridiculous, but we can touch on them maybe.
Before we start, we can't mention names because that's not protocol as a judge. We only critique people that ask us for a critique. But I think that Leah and I are going to address a post that was made by a coach, I think a couple days ago, there were some things mentioned in that post that we're going to address. But we'll let you guys start. Lay it on us.
Start her off, Josh.
Nice and easy. First one. How do you know if you should change categories? If you're bikini looking at going into wellness, you're not sure. What is and you're confused and you're not sure what one to go into.
Why don't you send me your progress pics and let me tell you where you belong?
Ask a judge.
Yeah. Most of the time, that's what they'll do. They'll send me progress pics and say, the coaches or the athlete themselves will send it to me or to Leah or to Jean or to whoever and say, look, do you think I belong more in wellness or do you think I belong more in bikini? Or should I try both to see where I fit? What's your thoughts? So that's usually what I suggest. And I think Leah and Kevia can probably agree with that.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I would think trying.
No,
we're losing them. We're losing them.
I'm not fading. I'm just listening.
Yes. Yeah.
I would say try both. That's the best way to do it, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say this.
Yeah.
And then go from judges' feedback after.
Finances to do both, get more stage, learn two disciplines, two different types of posing. Why not?
It's not going to hurt, right? It's not going to hurt you to try. If you're in the middle of feeling should I do bikini or should I do wellness, right? Those are two very, I find a lot of people crossovers in, and if they want to try both, right? I mean, they're two kind of very similar. I mean, the poses are obviously different, but someone could fit in, they might have very dominant lower half and not so dominant upper body, right? So maybe their proportions are more for wellness, right? But they impose really well as a bikini competitor. So it's hard to say, unless you actually try to do them both. So that's my opinion.
It's the same in with bodybuilding too. I mean, I did bodybuilding all my life, and at 46 years old, I tried classic, and just to see what it was like. It was fun. I loved it, and then I went back to bodybuilding.
Yeah,
it was where I wanted to stay, right? But I tried it.
Yeah,
I actually got the overall down in Nova Scotia, but that still didn't keep me there.
Yeah, I know some athletes, and Leah, you can attest to this. I know some that do bodybuilding, classic, and men's physique to see where they fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen
Yeah, and there's been
I've seen a bodybuilder win classic and bodybuilding because they're on the line and they look great as a bodybuilder and they look really good as a classic, and they get first place in both disciplines. A lot of people get upset about that because they want to justify, okay, well, why, if it's
they want a clear cut,
right?
That was actually one of the questions. How does that happen when two looks supposed to be very different? You know, small waist, big shoulders. When that's winning classic.
Yeah, I'll let you answer this.
Then you got the guy that doesn't. Yeah, bodybuilding.
It really depends on who shows up that day and is standing next to them.
Yeah.
So if there's no black and white with this, there's gray areas, especially when you're dealing with an amateur level. So somebody who shows up who's in pristine conditioning, has beautiful balance and the great foundation, full muscle bellies or whatever, and then they're standing next to people who have missing certain variables are missing or lacking. They can be clearly, if they're that polished, the winner in both. If they have the right size and balance. Like, there's more than just one variable. A lot of people try to simplify it. I've heard many people talk about how did I not place higher than them? I had hamstring tie-ins and they didn't. Well, that's not the only variable we're looking at. So same with bodybuilding. Like, I think there's a lot of similarities between bodybuilding and classic. Posing is very different. But it doesn't mean that we don't want full, balanced muscle bellies on a nicely structured foundation. You can be the most conditioned, ripped guy on stage, and it doesn't matter if you don't have the frame. It's like when you build a house, you have to have a solid frame or else the rest of it's going to end up falling apart. So I think people get lost in certain features that they have that they think is bang on for a category, and innocently they're overlooking other ones. And I think that comes from experience. And I think it's really important that we're doing this podcast right now because people need to hear from the judges, not just hearsay through their coaches about what the judges might have said, but they need to hear it from the judge's mouth.
Right.
Absolutely.
So it can be both. That was a long answer.
Great answer.
That was a
very well.
Good answer. I mean,
best answer.
A lot of clarity to that answer right there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that was good. Got another one from two people asked the same question about first time competing, and any suggestions. They're coming in, brand new, true novice. What any suggestions for them through a judge's eye?
Through a judge's eye, in what respect? On like how to get involved or how to be more educated on what they want to compete in, what discipline, like what exactly?
It says biggest piece of advice for a first time competitor.
Not to put so much pressure on yourself to pick the right division, like we just talked about.
Yeah.
Like that's why we have 6 disciplines or 7 disciplines actually now. And that's just, don't put so much emphasis on, if you like bikini but you have a wellness physique, then you got to make a choice.
Exactly.
You got to either shave down on your legs and your butt to become a bikini competitor, which is hard work.
That's Well, I don't know.
Harder to do things, right? Or if you love wellness but you're in bikini, then you're going to have to build those glutes to become a wellness. So vice versa, right? So I think that the biggest thing I want to say is that go into a show for the fun, not for the expectation that you're going to win and get a pro card.
Yeah.
Or go on to the national.
I see that a lot.
Your only first show.
Yeah.
Like, do as many shows as you possibly can to keep improving and keep getting noticed and keep getting judged and ask for the critiques that are at your fingertips. We didn't even charge for critiques at the last show, and we're going to be putting a post out. So people should take advantage of, these are free critiques. Do you know that my critiques, I was tasked to do the Wellness Pros and the Wellness Pro Qualifier in June, all the critiques. I had 10 critiques. They were done within a day, and they were like detailed. Like, I'm telling you, detailed. And it was all in an email and sent to them. They said, I've never gotten a detailed critique like this before in my entire life. This is so helpful. Thank you so much. So, you know, I know I'm getting off topic, but critiques are so important. A critique from a coach or from a spouse or from a friend is not a real critique. Get it from the judges, the people that know, the people that judge you on stage, the people that have experience.
Unbiased, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anybody, you want to add anything to that, Leah or Kevia? I mean, I guess that's my advice to an amateur. Just don't put any pressure on yourself. Just go in there, have fun, and just figure out what your goals are.
Exactly.
Do you want to do this all the way, or do you want to just compete for fun and just keep improving?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I always followed the advice I was given a long time ago, and I think I've said it many times at seminars. It doesn't matter ultimately what anybody thinks, whether it's judges or your coach, or you have to be your own trophy. So if you've made progress from your starting, that's all that matters, is you have gotten better. Yeah. So at the end of the day, for a first-time show, if you've improved, you won.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter. You know, so if you approach every show, like Tiffany said, you really enjoy competing. If you're approaching every show because you enjoy it, and like Heather said, you don't have expectations and you just want to improve yourself, you will eventually get there.
And there lies the problem. There lies the problem, Leah. It's I find, you know, it's a lot of coaches out there that are I would say like polishing apples and just kind of making their athlete's head bigger, and it's their first show, and it's like, oh yeah, my coach says I got the shape and everything to win a pro card. Well, you shouldn't go into a show, your first show, like that, or that you're going to win your first show, because
very rare that happens.
It's very rare that it happens, and everything has to line up. You have to have the proper structure. You don't know who's going to show up that day. Like, there's only been a handful of people that ever do that in like 3 shows and become IFBB pros. I didn't do it, right?
Yeah,
look at my guy Dana Baker.
Exactly.
He didn't do it. You know, it takes a long time. You know, in reality, it takes a long time to learn your body, for a coach to learn your body, and for the athlete to learn your body is the most important part, you know, for your digestion and your own health and longevity in the sport. So getting all this information from a coach saying, oh, you're going to win this, you're going to win that, that's too much pressure for an athlete.
I'm so glad you're saying this, because I want to just add this last thing is coaches aren't doing them any justice by saying all of these things to them, and it's creating a false sense of expectations. So I'm so glad you addressed it, because I find more and more, I mean, when we started out, it took me 10 years to win my pro card, and it was hard, and I had to switch categories, but people want this, they have this instant gratification sort of entitlement, and I don't even think that it's on purpose. I think sometimes they just get caught up in it. So I'm so glad you addressed that.
Trying to motivate their clients and stuff, and it just gets miscued and lets them down at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I understand, like, you know, the clients, you know, getting paid, and they want to make sure that their athlete is staying upbeat and, you know, keeping them motivated and stuff like that. But giving them a false sense of direction is not really, you know, the way to go, right? Just be honest with them and let them know, you know what, you don't know who's going to show up there. Just go out there and have fun and do your best, right?
Oh, and I forgot one thing. Come to the seminars. That's your first step.
Yes,
that helped.
I'm gonna do a follow-up question with the seminars.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna stay on that topic for a second and kind of go to the opposite direction. Okay. And being the past year, I've spent my time in the crowd. I haven't competed since this year at all. And I find it interesting, and I'm gonna talking about coaches and expectations. When you have someone that steps on stage not in shape, and you're like, why did their coach let them go on stage looking like that? Right? I have my own opinion on why. But it'd be interesting to hear like your thoughts when people step on stage and they look like, I don't know.
I don't think I've ever said that about a regional show. I think I've said it about a national level show.
I think that's different. This is like purely amateur bodybuilding, you know.
Yeah, personally, me as a judge, I've never said that on the panel. Like, I've never said, well, why would so-and-so send them on stage looking like that? I've never said that. Because it's an amateur regional show and everybody belongs.
Oh my God. Sorry, cat was on the computer.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, we don't discriminate against, semi in shape bodies over really conditioned bodies over soft bodies. I mean, you're there to, get on stage. A lot of guts to get up there and do what you're, to do that. I mean, anybody to get on stage in front of 500 people, that's a huge goal to achieve for a lot of people. But I don't think I've ever said that.
I would like to just add.
It's
you don't know someone's journey or the reason to get on stage.
Exactly.
And it's not up to you to decide whether or not they should be there. You don't know their story. So let them do what they want to do. Heather just said, it takes a lot of guts to do that. And for some of these people, they may or may not ever do it again. Maybe it's a bucket list thing, but maybe they're overcoming something. Let them.
Look at Jillian Parker. Look, started in transformation.
Thank you. She's the perfect example.
Started in transformation, overweight, to winning a regional show in an overall, then going to nationals and winning her class at the nationals. Now that's freaking remarkable. And look at Jennifer Rose. Jennifer Rose started out in transformation.
Right.
She went on to regional show. I don't think she won an overall, but she placed very well. And then
top 3, I think.
And placed top 3. So, I mean, everybody belongs there. There's no...
There's a starting point for everybody, right?
And everyone has a starting point. I say if you want to get on stage and make your appearance and show up at the best of your ability, because everyone has different shapes, everyone has different structures. You can't change your structure. But if you want willing to get on stage and let people and expose yourself like that, you win, right?
Yeah.
Whether you lost 1 pound or whether you lost 100 pounds, you're a winner, because not everybody can get on stage in front of them.
And I mean, when I started this, my first time on stage, I was 132 pounds. So probably they looked at me and said, "What the hell is he doing on there?"
I'm right with you with that. Yeah.
I mean,
they didn't back then. Like bodybuilding was so different back then compared to the way it is now. Like, it used to be fun. It used to be a hobby. It used to be all for fun. Like, you rarely saw 10 years ago anybody going to the nationals here in Atlantic Canada. I'll be honest with you, because I know
now we're all going. Now we're all going.
Now everybody's going, which is great. I'm glad that they go and they have that experience. Some have better experiences than others. But can I do the next question, if you don't mind?
Go for it.
Because it's just I've been stewing about it all day. So
yes, please.
So the question you had was, if the promoters don't like you, does it affect the judging and your placing? Well, when I read that, I said,
I hear that a lot.
This is ridiculous.
Well, that was my question I was going to ask.
Drink up, Jamie. Drink that, Jamie.
What? Well, I'm drinking.
Is that your question?
Let me say my piece first. So,
sounds
like trolling to me, that question, but it's okay. So here's my answer. What promoter would dislike any athlete when they are the most important part of its show's success? Number 1, that's my question. Right. Number 2, not everyone is going to like you. Not everyone's going to like me. Not everyone's going to like Leah. I mean, like, if that person has such a complex because they think that promoters dislike them and that's the reason why they didn't place properly, well, I mean, then they're in the wrong sport. I mean, I don't choose the judges. Ron does. Like, Corey doesn't choose his judges. Ron does. As a promoter, if that was directed at myself or Jean or Corey, we don't dislike any athlete in this sport. So I'll give you an example. We don't really even focus on the people's names when they come out on stage. You know what we look at? Their number and their physique. We have no clue who some of these people are. I'll give you an example. Carolyn McEachran competed on the weekend. She did my show back in 2021. I didn't remember her. Like, I didn't recognize or remember her on stage, but she looked really good. She was a figure competitor. And we'll get into that in a minute, me and Leah, but you know, I'll give you a situation. Jean judged a bodybuilding show back in the 2000s or the late 90s, okay? And he was in cahoots with a guy that was competing, and he was a judge. And it was really bad. It was a bad relationship. And he hated this guy, okay? So I know you're going to like the story. So he was a judge, and he's been judging for years, and he sat on the panel. And as much as he wanted to give him that second place in the over, or give him that, like, not place him first in the overall, he couldn't because he was the best. So, and guess what? The votes were 3-2. So if Jean had gone with his heart instead of his head and voted against this guy, he wouldn't have won. But he ended up giving it to him because he deserved it, because he had the best physique on stage. And that's what you call honesty and integrity.
That's integrity, yeah. Fair, yeah.
So
that's professionalism. Setting, you got to leave that at the table, right?
You gotta leave your emotions. You gotta put your emotions aside and just be like, you know what? Concentrate on the athlete and their number, and everything else goes out the window. We're there to judge, right? And
I think it comes from a lot of the coaches, and I'm not coach blaming here, but it does come from a lot of the coaches because, you know, they boost them up, and then, well, you didn't place, you placed second instead of first because the promoter doesn't like you and she happens to be judging the show. Like, how ridiculous. You know, why make your athlete feel like that?
How can you control what every other judge does?
Yeah.
Just because the promoter does not necessarily love someone, how does that affect Kevia or myself or the other judges on the panel?
I don't even judge the Atlantics, which is a big competitive show. Duncan is the head judge. Duncan has been judging for 30-some years, 36 years. He's one of the most respected judges. He even judged at the World Internationals way back in the day, you know, and they follow his lead. They place them as such. The promoters are running around. Do you think that we were going up to the judging panel and saying, you need to place this guy here because he sent me a really bad email the other day? Like, come on.
Yeah,
so ridiculous. That's not it. You're going to ask a question, you know, ask us a sensible question.
But I think it could also come from, like, people trying to find a reason that they didn't place well, and they don't want to blame themselves for, like, the work or the body or something. They're trying to find something else that's not them, right?
Right. They don't want to take any accountability at all.
Yeah.
Why?
I think you just said it. They don't want to take any, like, they have it in their head. They were so confident that they did everything right. So the fault has to lie at somebody else's feet, which is absolutely ridiculous. And the thing that's going to hurt them the most is the fact that they're clouded by that skewed vision of things instead of taking the critiques or the criticism that would help them advance.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where they lose. That's where they lose sort of sight of, I don't know. I think it's a problem when they start to blame judges. My brother told me a long time when I first wanted to step on stage and it came close and I didn't win. And he said, if you want to win, you have to be so good that you take it out of the judge's hands.
That's one.
And when that happens, you know that otherwise, you know, you win by 1 point. Well, tomorrow you could lose. Look what happened with Bethany and Erica up at the Nationals. Wasn't it reversed by and it was so close.
I'm going to talk about that.
Erica won here and Bethany was second. But when you went to Nationals, Bethany dialed in and they won at that look. So Bethany beat, and Erica was right behind her. So it was such a close call.
Exactly. Yep.
That, I mean, they could disgruntled and blamed the judges and made a weird post about how the judging's so skewed, but it's not. It's actually accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, 100%. And like that leads me to the post that was made about the judging and how there was an athlete that was at a regional show and we judged her. She was in a ladies category, and in her 45 plus class, she won her class against another competitor. In the 35 plus, she came second to this other lady that was in her class. But in the open, she hadn't placed. She had placed last. So I think that making comments like she was forgotten about by the provincial heads or she was not judged fairly or she was overlooked is bullshit, because if you look at the stats in that category, the one that won had 4 points and she had 5 points. So, and that's where I'm going to talk about the scoring, because somebody had sent me a message question how it's scored. Well, we'll kill two birds with one stone here. So I even wrote it down to give you an idea how it's done. So we have competitor A and B. Okay, so we have 5 judges. So competitor A got a second place vote, 3 first place votes, and a second place vote. Okay, competitor B got 3 second place votes and 2 first place votes. Okay, you throw out the high and the low. So let's take A. So he's 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. Let's throw out the 2 and the 1. 2 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. Okay, with me so far? Mm-hmm. Competitor B, we're throwing out the high and the low. We're throwing out a 2 and a 1. That leaves us with a 2, a 1, and a 2. So 2, 4, 5 points. 5. So that means 2 judges had this competitor first, and 3 judges had her second. Does that sound like she was overlooked?
No.
Leah, would you like to say something about that? I mean,
about being overlooked?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're definitely not overlooked. That just clearly states that it could have been a tie. It was, I mean, it could have, it wasn't.
The other way.
Very close.
Yeah. Very close.
So close. And then, placing in not just one category, but 2, definitely not overlooked. So it's a really silly thing to say. And I don't know, I think it calls into, I don't know, it's kind of insulting to the integrity of the judges who are behind the panel. But it also says something about you as an athlete. You got to remember that your response to things can, not that it's going to affect a judging panel, but it affects you and your performance when you're disgruntled and instead of being appreciative. I just been around through a lot of this, and you just see the ones that continue to be successful. So grateful for opportunity and feedback. When you deflect feedback and you're just criticizing or finding fault, I think it's distasteful. I don't know if that's the place to say that right now, but I need to say that. I think it's distasteful, and I think that you're throwing away an opportunity to grow.
Yeah, and another comment that was made, is it was kind of like saying, well, she went to the nationals and she won her 50 plus class. She came 3rd in her 45 plus class, and she came 3rd in her 35 plus class. Okay. Different set of judges, different competitors.
Oh, a week
it
later,
doesn't matter.
Yeah. More time to peak. Like there's so many variables that so many variables.
Always, Bethany, she wasn't peaked at this last show.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He peaked her for nationals.
100%.
I felt Erica was very, very close to her peak at that last show in Nova Scotia. So anything can happen within a week.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Different judges, but don't say, well, I really appreciated the integrity of the judges at the Canadian national level compared to her being ignored or overlooked at the regional level by her provincial heads. Like, that's just disrespectful and uncalled for.
It is. And I had a brief experience similar, but didn't make any crazy posts like that. But when I went, I think I was telling you this earlier, I went pro in, I think it was July of 2015. Then I won my pro show. I won a pro show, in 2015. And then I went to Texas for another pro show, and I came dead last. And then I went to the Olympia within a 2.5 month period, and I beat all the girls that were just in the class in the last show I was in. So you're right. From one week to another, it's very different. Yep. But the judges, the variables, who shows up on stage and standing next to you changes the entire
the big factor
day.
It changes the whole game, right? Someone standing next to you. It's not standing in the mirror. It's not posting your selfies. It's game time. You're being compared to the person that's next to you, and you see your your flaws, everything like that, and your strengths, everything's exposed on that stage. So it's what you bring to the stage that day. Something could be off, water, sodium, whatever. And then a week later, those things could be better, could tighten up, right? Like you said, she went to nationals that next weekend, and she did better because she probably didn't fully peak for the provincial show or the regional show, and then all of a sudden her peak started happening for the nationals. That's why she did better. It's nothing to do with the judges, right? So
the judges' scoring was fair, and that is the way it was judged, and that was the opinion of the judges on that day. 2 of them had her first, 3 of them had her second. That's the way it happens. That's the way the cookie crumbles. And, just improve, just keep getting better. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't blame the judges for your shortcomings or for your, that's just the way it is. Like, I don't mean to be brutally honest, but like,
everyone
I'll give you another
example. To blame.
Yeah, 2021 Atlantics. Morgan went up against Derek LaMontagne in the heavyweights. Morgan lost the Atlantics. Mm-hmm. He thought he was going to win to this guy from Quebec.
He just won the Gladiator.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah. And he won the Gladiator, Morgan.
Yeah.
5 weeks later, he went to the Nationals. I went to the Nationals and judged that show. Guess who beat who?
It was a switching.
The overall. Mm-hmm. Morgan beat Derek because Derek was a heavyweight and Morgan was a super heavy, and he beat him in the overall and won his pro card.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. So before someone starts running their mouth about things that they don't understand, because we're all judges, okay? So don't try to say that you're a judge, because you're not a judge. Mm-hmm. And that was also said before. I'm a judge. No, you're not a judge. You've never judged a show in your life. You test judge a show. So it doesn't give you the
expertise.
I guess the
experience.
To go and start, making those types of comments about judges at the regional level, and kind of, I guess, putting us under a bus, another bus, throwing us under another bus. But and there was also another comment made, and Leah really wanted to talk about this one, that I had made a post about all of the pros in Atlantic Canada that had competed or won the pro card. So let me explain this.
Where was my name?
Yeah, where was your name? Where was Mike's name? Where was Santana's name? Okay, so let me just explain what that post was all about, because obviously you didn't take the time to read it fully in
the attention
detail.
Span of people.
Okay, so let me just hit the highlights.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a post about trying to bring the sport further and help it to evolve and build up numbers. So basically, we're going to do a free seminar in the fall, and Jean and I are going to actually do a podcast with you, Josh, about this.
Oh, are we?
Yeah. If you want. But just me, you, and John, if you want to. So that is the thing that we did for the post, is that we explained that we're going to have this free seminar, and that the athletes in Atlantic Canada are some of the most competitive athletes in the country, because they are. And I wanted to prove that point in my post. So I said all of these athletes have done a J&H Promotions show, okay, and have gone on to win their pro cards afterwards. So they've either qualified through our show, won an overall, and then gone on to win their pro cards. So the list was conducted of all those pros that have done our shows. Leah never did an overall at our show. She competed at our shows, but she never won an overall, and then went on to, she competed through the NSABBA, just like other people have competed through the NSABBA, like Julian Colley. There's another one. So, we can go on and on and on with our list. But so that is the point that I'm trying to make, is that when people don't have the whole story and only tells certain parts of the story of what they see or perceive, that's when I have a problem. So, and Leah, you can add to that.
Yeah. I pretty much covered it. But
okay.
It's funny because I saw the post. I saw the post and I read the names, and I knew they were all CPA competitors of ones from Brunswick. So I didn't even think to be like, what the heck? It was pretty obvious, especially listing some of the names, that it was, your intention was exactly what you explained. So it's funny because when I heard that some people were disgruntled about it or whatever, I just thought that was ridiculous. They must not have read the whole post.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the way.
So that kind of clears that one up.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm the only promoter and head and CPA Pro Judge that makes a post and a collage of all of our athletes competing in Eastern Canada. You can go and try to find somebody in the country that does the same thing in BC or in Ontario, and nobody does it. So, hats off to me for actually acknowledging the athletes and actually caring about the athletes and wanting them to succeed and do well. So, and getting on to the collage question, somebody had asked, well, why was Devin Adams and Carolyn McEachran forgotten in the collage post that Heather Leblanc made, wishing good luck to all the athletes? Well, first off,
that was the other ludicrous
that post was made. Yeah, that post was made 3 times. And in the post, if you had actually read it, the whole post, it said, if I've forgotten anyone, please let me know so I can add you to my collage. Posted that on Instagram 3 times, posted it on Facebook 3 times. And within that span, there were 6 athletes I had forgotten. Mm-hmm. And I added all these 6 athletes to the collage, so it kept growing. So actually, there was 4 athletes I forgot. There was Devin Adams, Carolyn McEachran, Caddy from Nova Scotia, the 64-year-old beautiful lady there that competes, and Selena Curry. And Selena didn't want anyone to really know she was going to the Nationals because it was a private thing. So, people need to fucking lighten. Oh, sorry. Friggin' lighten up.
Holy fuck. You said, Heather, you said fuck.
I almost said it.
You didn't almost said it. You said it.
You edit that,
Josh? No.
It just shows you're down to earth too.
Well, you know what it shows? It shows that
you're frustrated.
Stop scrutinizing everything that Jean and I do. We're tired of it. Nobody has worked harder in this sport than Jean and I. We've brought the Atlantic Canada to great heights. I don't care if you call this bragging, but no, it's not bragging. It's fact.
I've been to a lot of shows across the country, and I've never experienced anything like your guys' shows. Right? No one else does it like this.
No, it's
and
the pro shows, the national shows that we just seen this weekend.
It's top notch.
Not even close.
Well, Jamie, who else would do the Gladiator Showdown 3 times and showcase you the way we do?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I
like a mini
total
Olympic.
props to that. That's an outstanding outstanding thing. It's above and beyond is what it is. It's glitz and glamour and the
which
whole
leads me
nine.
to Tiffany. Yeah, like Tiffany, the goddess. Like, how did you feel about the goddess? Like, didn't you think that was like
it was
mini Olympia? Like, to me, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was the best experience. Like, you will not get that in any show. No. And I will say that in Canada, I would probably bet even in the US. Yeah. Like, there's no show at like an amateur level where you're going to have that type of experience. No. And for them to have athletes to kind of just behave like they have been towards, you know, you and Sean and, you know, judges and all that, it's just, that's not what this is about. And, you know, we've all worked really hard to build this community up. And I wish that we could just continue to be positive and get your egos aside, get the stick out of your asses, and just do better.
Yeah.
The first one we had the 2016, we were behind the carpet or the curtain, and the whole floor was just bouncing. It was shaking and rough. And I turned around. The 2016 Gladiators, the first one.
I got goosebumps.
And I turned around and looked at the rest, and I said, "This is for us. Let's go." And everybody was absolutely pumped to the nine.
Do you know that show was almost sold out? 1,200 seats. We'll never see that again.
That's so cool.
Kenny Black, Mike Thier, like, it was just amazing the whole night, and it just continued every time. Every time I was invited, every time, and it just never ended. I give you total props for that. It's unbelievable the shows you have, really is.
Yeah, agreed.
I've been to the Nationals in 2011 and up in Montreal, and I laid underneath the counter because there was no other room to move, and I couldn't go nowhere. It was just the worst experience of my life. I said, this is not the way it should be. So to head up there to do that, I mean, it was way different than the Toronto Pro. It was a more settled down show, and it was good. I like that. But the shows in the Atlantics, they are top notch. We'll give you total credit for that.
Yeah, they're second to none, and I wish that, you know, people would stop criticizing every little thing that we do wrong instead of all of the wonderful things we do right.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm not kissing your ass. This is actually how I felt. I felt at every show. I'm not.
No, it's true. I agree.
It is.
I'm on the same page.
And you know, you guys might not realize this, but you know, I know you guys always just see me in the spotlight. You always see me running here, running there, doing this, doing that. But what you don't understand is that everything that we have created has come from Jean and his intelligence and his experience in the sport and all the years he's put into the sport. And he's always wanted to keep the sport alive and keep it evolving. And I'm kind of the one that executes the plan that he puts in place. I'm the executor, okay? And he's the planner.
Right.
So it's a collaborative team, John and I. And the shows would not be successful without both of us involved because, again, he's the planner, he's the one that puts it all together, and I just execute it. So.
Nice.
It works well. Always did.
Keeping on the crazy
judging.
Yeah, well, no. Keeping on the ridiculous questions and like, why are you like? We could probably answer this one pretty quickly about people feeling like if they compete. Nova Scotia has two federations, or Nova Scotia like East Coast.
No, there's no more federation.
Yeah, like
no, they folded. So
they did, but I had people asking me about people that did compete in that previously, if they want to come and compete in the CPA now. Is that okay?
Of course. Why wouldn't it be okay?
People think that, oh, I competed in the other division. They're not going to like me in the CPA now because I didn't put time in there.
That's so old. Like, that was actually way back when the CBBF actually didn't like people to jump from federation to federation, right, Leah? When CBBF was in power, they were the ones preventing athletes from doing other federations.
Right. No one's under contract, right? No one is like, you're not signed anything. You have no alliance to anybody, right? So
look at Scott. What's his name? Scott.
Duncan.
Come on.
Anderson.
Thank you.
Oh,
so Scott Anderson did our show, on June 1st, the natural show.
Oh yeah.
And then he drove to St. John and he did that show.
Oh, yes,
and then he
that
came
same
back
day.
for the night show.
I seen
No
that.
joke.
That's kind of great. That's awesome.
I seen
That's
that.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. That's funny.
I actually just laughed. I said, "You didn't pull that off. Like, tell me, like you did. You really didn't pull it off." He said, "I did." Yeah. The question was, did you deliberately put your show on the same date as the St. John show in 2022? I think that was one of the questions.
Yeah.
It was the one in May.
I remember.
So, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I just remember it was scheduled like a couple weeks in advance. Something happened. The big C happened.
Yes.
And then, but then you had to reschedule your show and you bumped it up a week or two. But
no, it wasn't a week. It was actually almost like 6 weeks later. So
It was.
What happened was COVID hit in January. Right. They locked everyone down. They closed the gyms again in January. So everyone was all panicking because they would have enough time to get their prep in by April 2022 for the Atlantics. So we made the decision to cancel it in April and then push it to May. And the only dates available happened to be the same date as, hey, I'm a promoter. I'm not going to like appease other promoters just because I put my show on the same date. I mean, promoters, that's what they do. You promote your events to be the best. So
the business just
and not everybody competed at my show that day, and not everybody competed at St. John's show that day. So they both had athletes in the show, and yeah. So sometimes you have to take the venues that are available to you. And I don't know if you know this, but during COVID, all the venue dates were booking up fast because they were starting to get events going again. So you can imagine all of the different events. We had very limited dates to work with. So
yeah, and we'll go back to the judging thing for a second. I guess someone wants to know, what do you do when you're having trouble getting judges' feedback? Just keep asking, or is like maybe...
well, first
that's
off,
the only thing that they said is pretty vague, but
yeah, they're probably talking about me. Because I get a million messages after a show. So basically, what we're trying to do now is what they did at the Nationals, where they gave everybody a discipline to look after. So that's what we're going to do for this last show. So I'll make a post tomorrow. And so Jean and Kevia is going to do bodybuilding classic. I'll do men's physique, and Leah will help me with bikini, and Shira and Brandy will do wellness, and Leah will do figure. So, and we'll put the email addresses of everybody, and then they can just contact them directly. But, they have to be realistic and reasonable. Give us a week or so just to make sure that we have time to do them. I don't do a critique half-assed. Like, I don't write like 2 lines like most judges do, because I've seen that before. I'm not saying our judges, but I've seen it before. I do a full-blown critique from top to bottom. So, and, they really appreciate that when you go into detail like that. But it takes time. That's on your own spare time.
Sorry, Heather, but is there a template for that? Like, is there something that I
can send you something.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because so I can just break things down, for them so that it's more.
I usually use something like this. It basically like balance and shape, symmetry, proportion, your level of fitness, how your conditioning was, your size, your muscle tone, your total package, your appearance, presentation on stage, beauty, overall presentation, your strengths, your weaknesses, what you need to improve on. So aesthetics, tan, makeup, hair.
Yep.
The whole 9.
Suits.
Good.
Yep. So
okay.
And I just want to emphasize that, they're all equally important. I think you were asking that question, Josh, and like, what's the percentage of your physique? Is it how much percentage is conditioning? How much percentage is posing? How much percentage is
that was another question we had. I'm trying to Where's that? I'm trying to find it right now.
We're going to let Leah answer that. Because you're such a good speaker.
Percentages.
Well,
Never saw the percentages. There's
no, there is no percentages. That's my point. But so
I know.
What was the question exactly, Josh?
I'm trying to find it. One second.
Okay. Anyway, it was something to do with how much emphasis do you put on like conditioning?
Yeah, like
at 100%. Which one does each one get for a percent?
So is conditioning? Does conditioning outweigh size? Does size outweigh conditioning, or does posing take effect? Like counting in, like what is the ratio?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
and Leah, go.
So,
I knew she was going to be ready.
Okay.
Go.
Yeah, I found it. It's like size or posing. For example, 50-50 or 60-40. Does it like if you have size and crappy posing?
She's got it.
Does that make sense? Or like what's more important?
So okay.
There's
no direct
you can't display
answer.
If you can't display
it's kind of vague.
Yeah.
I understand what the question is, but there's no black and white answer for that, because as we stated earlier, it depends on who shows up on the stage that day. So it's like I said earlier too, when you build a house, you need a strong foundation, or else structurally there's going to be flaws. So right out of the gate, if you have a strong foundation, if your foundation is bang on, you're more likely going to rank higher in the judging. More judges will probably look at you, even if your conditioning you're not as conditioned as the person next to you. If the person next to you doesn't have the foundation, the frame to work with, then they can be the most ripped person on stage. It doesn't matter. The other part is it's not just about conditioning. Then you're looking at balance, and then you're looking about consistency in the fullness of the muscles from the top right down. But then you also have aesthetics on top of it. So I think that to answer that, you would have to look at a class that you're in and have the judges explain to you, ask a judge to explain, given that particular day with you on stage with those particular other competitors, how does it work? So you can't just give a blanket answer. Does that make sense to everybody else?
Yeah, it does.
Oh yeah. It's very well explained.
Like
it's a total
package.
It's a total package.
Yeah, so it's something where they send the clip to you and say, "Can you tell me what happened on this given day with this class?"
Right.
Yeah, and I think that that's what should be explained to coaches as well. Don't go off making posts about the judging. Get the athletes to get a freaking critique. Find out why. Maybe there's reasons that you don't understand. You're not a judge.
Yes.
You might think you're a judge, but you're not a judge.
Right.
So have the professional. This is a job that we're doing. On the panel, this is a job. And we have to do our job.
I think that some of the responsibility falls on the athlete too, to realize that, okay, my coach, I'm paying this person, so they're going to tell me all the great things. They're going to have a bias because they're going to see my development and they're going to be more invested in me. So they're more likely going to, be my fan in my corner. So that means that they're not actually seeing things accurately either. Even with their tons of experience, there's that connection, or that preferential bias that's going to skew it. It skews the best of us. That's why there's as many judges behind a panel, because we all have our own little biases. That's the way you explain the judging. You drop the highest and the lowest. You go with the balance of what's left in the middle. So it eliminates those things. So I think, coaches need to realize that they have that bias, and athletes need to realize that their coaches have it. So to go with what judges say, not coaches. I mean, to an extent, like when you're getting ready for a show, of course, you're going to follow the advice of your coach. But when it comes to the actual judgment of the show, I think you're right. Coaches are not judges.
Yeah.
And they have bias.
this is the part that really bothers me, that we overlook athletes. I don't ever want to hear that again, because that is completely false, that any athlete is overlooked on our stage. We don't have big enough shows to get overlooked, okay? Like, yeah, I've seen it happen at the national level a couple of times, and not CPA shows, by the way, but I have seen it in the CBBF where they were overlooked. But what the point that I'm trying to make is that we have video critiques, okay, that you can pay for, right? $50, you get a critique. I'm talking in the background, you're coming out on stage, you're posing, and I'm doing a fancy critique for you, okay? When we don't have those available, it's our duty as judges to critique you. If you want a judging critique, you need to reach out. A lot of people think that, oh, well, I don't want to pay for my critique. You know, it's just too expensive. You don't have to get a video critique. You can just reach out and find out what you need to improve on. And I think that that's where that's lacking. So.
Interesting. What percentage of people do you think actually do that?
That reach out, I would say maybe 30%, which is not a lot.
Video critique, you mean?
No, just well, in general, just like
or reach out. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, you know, I don't want to be bombarded by.
Well, you might open up a floodgate there now.
Yeah, but like I came up with, you know, a strategy for that now, that we're just going to make everybody on the panel do their part, right? Shouldn't have to be always on my shoulders because I'm the head judge, or on Duncan's shoulders because he's head judge. Everybody, if you're a judge, then you have the education, you have the knowledge to do a proper critique. So can't emphasize enough how important it is to ask for one. So and I think Leah and Kevia would agree with me. So Tiffany always reached out to me after every show. Okay, so what do I need to do? You know, I mean, I remember when you stole me away when I was judging, and you said, okay, like, what do I need to do? And you were like posing. It was like an instant critique.
Yeah.
So that's the only way.
It's the only way you're going to get better.
Yeah.
It is.
And I owe, you know, by doing that, and I think my history has kind of shown that by doing that and getting those critiques, I've been able to get better and become the athlete that I am because I've done that.
Yeah. So. And also, like, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I just wanted to add one more thing. You know, you have to understand that everything is important on stage. Like I just said, the total package. And posing also plays a huge part in your score. And the only thing that I want to say about your posing is find a posing coach, find an instructor that's going to help you to present yourself best to the judges, because that's going to make all the difference at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're not posing properly, we cannot judge what we cannot see.
Right.
And if you're posing in an awkward position, or if you're posing not properly for your discipline, then you're going to be placed lower. That's just the way it is. Ron had told me a story the other day about an athlete in Montreal. Same thing happened. He wasn't posing properly, so he ended up placing last, and he was probably one of the better competitors in that class. So, you know,
I've seen that before over the years. Somebody come out, looked like they should win the overall, and then they start posing, and it's just downhill from there. So somebody could bring everything that they have, and it's top notch, and if you can't pose and show it off, that's a big part of it.
And Tiffany, you can attest to that because you're a posing instructor, and you know how important posing is for every show. Mm-hmm. So if you can't pose, then you're not going to do well.
Like I was, go ahead.
Go ahead, Josh.
I said I've been competing for years, and then it was only in the past 3 years that Kevia taught me how to open up my lats.
There you go.
I was competing for years before that, and he helped me figure it out. Mm-hmm. And then that made a huge difference on stage, obviously.
Oh, well, it would.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, he helped me, like, feel them, right? And it was, like, night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having that assistance and yeah.
And once you get it once and you start and you get that in your mind and you start repeatedly doing it over and over again, it's just like, again, muscle memory, just like doing a lat pull down or a bench press. It's just like it starts to become like second nature, right? Like
it does.
You don't get under the bench press every single time and think, oh, I should do this, do that, right? It's basically your motor senses kick in and you know what to do, right? You get under the bar and you lock everything in place and then you press, right? Same with the a pose. Like you want to make sure it's like, again, that mind muscle connection. You get into the pose and you feel it. And then you keep practicing it over and over again. Like a posing coach would attest to, like, it's not like you don't get it. And then it's like, okay, I got it now. I don't need to do this anymore. No, you got to do it over and over and over again until it becomes, just like second nature. Right. So.
All right.
I remember before a show.
And you can't leave it to the last minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I remember before a show, I wore high heels for 2 months in the kitchen so that I would be used to my heels. Did you do that too, Leah? Yeah. Just so
I actually do that with my posing clients, that if they can't walk in heels, I'm like, you better be doing house chores in them damn heels. I don't care. And send me videos.
I'm glad you said yes, Leah, because I wasn't sure who you were talking to when you said, did you do that too? I was ready to say, yeah, maybe. So I'm glad you called her name out because I was like, no.
So Josh, are we?
We're getting towards the end. I got a couple more.
Good.
Okay.
I got one for Tiff, and then Heather and Kevia can answer an interesting one about being natural.
Oh yeah, there was yes, that's right. There was a question about natural. I'll help you with that, Kevia.
I'll be right back, folks. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, we'll keep going. I'll just read this one. Okay. 1 year I competed. I came in second in my class, and the judges' feedback said I needed to come in a little bit more conditioned. Next year rolls around, and I compete, and I come in more conditioned in my class, but the softer-looking female won. Can you explain this?
I can't explain it unless I know who it was.
Yeah.
I know what category, what show, and what placing, so that I can go back and see why. So
it's hard to say without pictures. Right?
It could be a number of things, Leah? Like it could be that the softer girl just had a better shape all around, and there wasn't much missing from her, and maybe the other girl was too conditioned, like too lean, too emancipated, like too little, like that. She went too far, It
happens.
Sometimes when you say you need better conditioning, sometimes people just go to the extremes.
Suck down way too much. And
then they look too skinny and drawn, right? So I would have to have more information.
Right.
I think you also have to consider aesthetics, because if you're talking about a bikini or you're talking about a category that takes that into consideration, I've seen people lose it because they have a bad tan. So what's their hair and makeup like? What's, suit fit properly? It's not always about conditioning. Everybody gets fixated on that.
There was a guy in Classic at one of the last shows. Do you remember, Josh? He had no tan.
No tan. What happened?
Yeah. And he would have won the show. He would have won the class.
He looked good, but he was so pale.
I think he ended up
Everything
fourth
was washed out.
Yeah.
I remember that,
Well, honestly, I was at the Nationals in Winnipeg in 2016, and I was in the light heavyweight class. And I was probably one of the most conditioned light heavyweights on that stage.
You should have won that show. I remember that show. I judged you.
Honestly, no, I don't think I should. Those guys, their structures were just different, right? You can't.
But they weren't as conditioned as you.
Right, but you can't change that.
I'm conditioning. I'm a condition.
I know you can't change the fact that these guys had the structure and similar conditioning. They had a lot more, they're fuller muscle bellies and stuff like that. So I took ownership to that. I got some judges' feedback, but because I was very conditioned on the stage, but I just didn't, I didn't have that pop, that fullness, and the structure that these guys had. And they all went on to become pros. I came fourth in that very, very tough lineup, but it was an eye opener for sure to me to say, what the things that I needed to work on, because I could be very, very super conditioned and super dry, but could be someone there that just has matched your conditioning. Their structure may be a little bit different, their shape, and they can edge you out, right? So that's just one thing I know, that you just can't change your structure, that's not going to happen. Like, you can work with it, you can work with your genetics and what you have, but your structure is not going to change, and your shape, right? So that's my 2 cents.
You got to fill in the missing parts. And you got to work hard to fill in.
Exactly. You got to fill in the spaces. You got to fill in those gaps, right? Yeah. So, the guys that were the top 3, and I was fourth. These guys had more. They were filled out more. They looked more, more dense, more compact. Like, we were all around the same height in that group, but the structures were just more dense, right? Mm-hmm. I was lean, and I had everything in the right places, but I had gaps, right? So, and that's what I went back to the drawing board, and I say, what, I got to work on these areas, and that's what I did, and it takes time. Still doing it. So.
All right.
And did you want to ask your question about the natural?
Yeah, that's a perfect segue right into it. That's a perfect. Where is it at? Okay.
I think it was like, it's clear to everyone sometimes that there are people doing a natural show that are clearly not natural. Right. So can you tell? And if you do tell, how do you do you like take them aside and test them? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, it's like the obvious non-natural at a natural show.
How do you address that?
Right,
you can't tell.
I think it was a big. What was the last nationals or that there was a lot of guys in there that people questioned. They were like, "What the heck's going on here at a natural show?" People looked different at that show, and it made a couple natural people here in New Brunswick or Nova Scotia kind of question, should I even be going into these shows because I'm natural and I'm going up against people that may not be.
Well, Josh, honestly, you go into these things thinking, that everybody's playing fair, right? Everyone's playing fair and everybody's on the same page. But you got to remember that there's people that are going to try to cheat the system. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, you can look at someone until you're blue in the face and say, that person is using PEDs, or that person is not using PEDs. You can't tell, like, unless that person is tested, you can't accuse, right? Exactly. So it's a fine line between pulling someone aside and saying, you might be, I think you might be using, PEDs or whatever. And they're not, and that you test them and then they're not. Like, so how does that go? How does that blow over, right? If you test somebody and you made an accusation and they're actually not, they're just that, they just have that look, then you're fighting a whole nother battle, because now you're accusing someone of, and you're through all that they end up testing.
When you have genetics, you can't tell. You can't tell if they're natural or not natural. If you have the genetics, you're going to look good no matter what.
Yeah.
Right. It's impossible. Like, there's a lot of people that are, actually from the community that I'm from North Preston, and these guys they look like they work out all the time, but they don't. It's like they're born like that. And all of a sudden they do some weight training and they just blow up. And I'm like, wow, like, that's just what happens, right? Like, they just have crazy genetics. And
pisses me off, to be honest.
I'm like, I asked him, I'm like, you guys ever think about doing a show? Like my brother who lives in Truro, he's a genetic freak, right? And he's like, I always tell him, I'm like, man, you should do a show. And he's like, Kev, I'm way too shy to do that stuff, right? So it just goes to show you that it's not for everybody.
So just to tell you how, yeah, no, and just let's explain, Kiva, how it works. So basically, at a natural show that we're judging, we have um, we have the opportunity to do 5 drug tests. Okay, so we don't like that's all done through. I can't remember the medical Dynadocs or something or somewhere like that. So they come in and they do the drug testing, and there's 3 different ways we can do it. We can do just the overalls. We can do targeted, like if we do believe that someone is juicing, we can actually test them. We've not ever done that before, but we have the opportunity to do it. And most of the time, that person's in the overall anyway, most of the time. So, and we can also do random, like just grab someone, like just out of the blue that, but my viewpoint is that most of the time, the winners are the ones that you want to test anyway, the overall winners, because they're the ones that want to go to the national level. So those are the ones we want to catch, right? And yeah, it is, easy to cheat the system. I don't know how they do it, but obviously some of them do, and that's a sad fact. But if you get caught, you're taking an awful risk. I wouldn't want to take that risk. Would you? Leah, would you want to take that risk?
Right? That's it.
I mean, so why would you want to just, hopefully I got off my stuff in time. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't show up on the test. Because that some people
because this stuff is not cheap,
right?
But why would you spend the money to travel and do these shows and for the tan and the makeup, all this stuff and the food and everything, and then all of a sudden be like, oh my God, is this gonna shoot, this is coming down to the wire here. I won the show, but I don't know if the stuff's out of my system in time. Am I gonna pass or am I gonna fail?
We've caught 4 or 5 people at natural shows the last 5 years that won their pro card and got it taken away. So I think we're doing a pretty good job. Like we do tests, they cost $500 a piece. We couldn't test every athlete.
Couldn't do that.
If we did that,
yeah. I was going to ask that, how much they were. I think it's probably quite expensive to do every athlete, or even your top 3 in each class.
Yeah.
It's too much.
And until something changes, that's the way it's going to be. We do our 5 tests and we do it properly and we follow protocol. And I think the natural shows are great. And the ones that want to cheat their way to the top, well, eventually they're gonna get caught.
Yeah.
Nice. Couple more. Well, not many. People are saying bikinis drifting too.
You've been saying that the last 20 minutes.
People are saying bikinis drifting too far away. What's your opinion? Are they getting too lean, too big? Not exactly.
I'll let Tiffany answer that. Because Tiffany's a bikini competitor. She sees a lot of...
Yeah. So, Tyler Mannion has brought this up even at the pro level where, they, at one point, some of the girls were getting too big in the pro league. So they started to kind of pull back. But I would say, in an amateur or even at the national level, I think it's pretty consistent. I don't think the girls are getting too big. I think that we're just coming in with better physiques. So if you look in comparison to what bikini was a few years ago as to what it is now, it's just evolved. If you think about it, bikini is still very, very, very new. And it's evolving like anything else. So I wouldn't say that they're getting too big. Everything looks different on everybody. So it's somebody may look bigger than me, but actually way less than me. Right? So they may not even actually be bigger than me. They just, it looks different on their structure. And I sometimes look bigger than some other girls and I'm a very tiny person, right? But when I'm lean compared to the girls sometimes at a regional here, I outsize them. But then when I go to nationals, I'm quite small, right? I go in on stage around 115 pounds. I go to nationals and some of these girls have 15 pounds on me. But again, but they're the same height as me. It all just is based on your structure and how you hold muscle. Some girls look better, more conditioned, and some girls look better, a little bit softer. Marissa, for example, she just won her pro card. She wasn't the most conditioned on the stage in that overall, was she? Wasn't. But she had full and like beautiful muscle, balance, head to toe, everything just looked perfect on her physique, right? And that's why she got it. It was like you could not look away. Everything was balanced. And she's also not the biggest bikini competitor. There was other bikini competitors who did outsize her. So I wouldn't say that. I think that it just takes an eye to getting to know the division and competing in it long enough and getting the experience of doing regional versus national and then looking at pro. Because pro, don't even compare yourself because it's not even the same. Like that's a whole other level and you can work on that once you reach that level. But amateur and regional, no. It's all about evolution and you're going to continue to see it evolve.
Yeah, great answer. And I just want to add to that. Also, if you're transferring or transitioning from wellness into bikini, okay, you're going to still look a little bit bigger if you haven't brought your physique to that bikini look. And it takes time to go from one discipline transition to bikini. It takes a lot of time. Like I've seen girls go from wellness to bikini. I've also seen girls go from bikini to wellness. Okay. There's a lot of girls in wellness that shouldn't be in wellness, who should be in bikini and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So it takes time for you to transition into the right category. So
find your place.
If you didn't get placed exactly where you thought, because the other girls look smaller and a little bit more streamlined, and you just carried a little bit more muscle and had a little bit more hardness, then, you know, maybe you still got a lot of work to do to achieve that bikini look. So, just wanted to add that.
I like it.
Perfect.
This kind of piggybacks off of Greg and Lee's podcast when I had Greg and Lee on the other week about bikini. Why do we not see your back? And why is glutes and hamstrings are just stuck in our faces? How come we don't judge the back? Why isn't that a part of the full critique? Like you're judging the body.
So every discipline has its own set of rules and has its own judging criteria. So in figure, we do want to see your back. So that's why they sweep the hair. So we're judging your back because we're judging the V taper, we're judging your width, we're judging your small waist. So obviously we need to see that, okay? In wellness, we need to see your legs, your hamstrings, your quads, and your glutes. That's what we're judging on the most for wellness. You don't even have to be big up top because they don't judge a lot of the upper body as far as if it's, you know, it could be smaller than, that's what wellness is for. It's for those types of physiques where you have a heavier set lower half, where you're very muscular in the legs and the glutes and hamstrings. So we don't judge you on your back. We judge you on those attributes. Just like in bikini, we judge you on the glutes. And we also judge you on your midsection and your overall look. So I think you can add to that, Leah, too. I know you're dying to. I can see it. I can see your thinking there.
Okay, so I don't know who's asking, like, and not that I need to know the person, but if they were around during CBBF time, like prior to the CPA.
We did.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Cool. If a bikini competitor has shorter hair, do you recommend extensions, or is the back, would that be distracting, having an open back on a bikini competitor?
Personal preference. I mean, like, I've seen girls with short hair win bikini shows just as
Just
well
an
as
interesting thing to put it out there.
long hair. I mean, I think that, you know, it's the norm. It's what you see at the Olympia. You don't usually see too many girls with short hair.
No.
You do see most of them with extensions. So if you're trying to achieve that type of look to be able to go to the next level, then I would say whatever, you know, you feel comfortable with and whatever accentuates your look. I mean,
Cool.
that's the best answer that I can give for that.
I have one last question on my end.
Okay.
Someone wrote, can you please ask Heather what her goals timelines are to one day judge top tier pro shows? And are you looking at potentially handing over your promoting at any time soon? 2028.
Who is this?
And do you have
For
anybody?
me to know and you to find out. That's my answer.
So I guess there's two questions in there. Are you looking at doing top tier pro shows, and are you retiring?
Yeah. Well, I judged my first pro show last year at the Toronto Pro Super Show.
That's a pretty big one.
Yeah, it was a great experience. What you don't understand, there's a lot of judges out there like that have a way more experience than I do in the pro league. Like, so, not to say I would never want to love to judge, like, you know, the New York Pro or the Vancouver Pro or the Arnold's or the Olympia. It would be a dream for anyone to want to judge at that level. But I'm happy with the position that I'm in, and I enjoy head judging the natural, or not the naturals, but the Nova Scotia show and the PEI show. I like the smaller shows. I think that the regional shows are top notch, and you know, being a promoter, you know, that's kind of where I started, and that's kind of where I'm going to finish. So basically, maybe someday we'll get a pro qualifier here. Who knows? It just depends on what happens moving forward in the future, right? But Jean and I have talked about it, and we think that our last show is going to be at the Atlantics in 2028 because it'll be the 50th anniversary of that show.
Oh, that's big news. Yeah, if that happens.
Yeah. So, but not to say that we couldn't retire earlier than that or later than that. Right. That's the goal, but you never know. We are, you know, kind of like mentoring certain people in the sport to take on a lot of different responsibilities of the show now. Jose Paradis, Ashley Vale. These are people that I depend on and work very close to, and they're learning how to do the shows. And you know, and there's Darren, and there's a lot of people that want to be promoters, and you know, it's not as easy as it looks. It's all like fun and games until you start promoting a show. We need promoters that are going to work hard, you know, not promoters that are just going to step in and just get their minions to do their work. You know, like it has to be hands-on, has to be somebody that's dedicated, somebody that's like is a workhorse, and somebody that's going to keep the sport alive. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that, you know, after we're gone, the sport will still, you know, continue on the way it's going. And we'll still be involved, you know, like even when we retire, you know, I'll probably still judge a show here and there, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's been a long haul, and you know, and yeah, it's time to kind of take time for ourselves. And so, but like I said, we'll see what happens. Could be sooner, right. Could be later. We don't really know. So there's my answer.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Big news. Yeah. That's it for me, everybody. There's a lot.
There's a lot.
So
an hour and a half of
quickly, what's next for you, Jamie? Are you planning to do another show? Are you sure?
Yeah, no, I'm qualified for Toronto. with the second place. So I'm going back up again in June. So that's my goal. And after that, we'll see how we make out. I'm only 51.
Right. Just a young.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Anyway, that's my goal. That's what I'm gearing on.
Well, I'll tell you what my goal is. I actually am starting to start a new training program and cleaning up my diet. And my goal is to like get in shape again and do a photo shoot at 50 plus years old. That's good. That's my goal.
No, that's wonderful.
Start doing something for myself, you know, because I give so much to everybody else and to others, talking family, athletes. You know, I kind of neglected myself. So it's time to take care of Heather. So that's my
good idea.
Good.
What about you, Leah? Are you going to have another baby? Probably not.
Leah, she just got that.
She's like,
I feel like I'm really delayed here.
Maybe.
Yeah, I know. Like you are delayed.
Going down a bit.
It took you a while to answer when I ask you a question. That's too funny. How is your little baby girl?
It is. She's good. She's been sleeping the whole time. I have her on the screen next to me, so she hasn't woke up. It's good. No, she's great. She's just 18 months, and she's pretty awesome.
And when do you go back to school? When do you go back to school teaching?
Not until the end of January, so that'll be an adjustment too. For a little bit. Yeah, life will change a little bit here soon.
What about you, Josh? Are you thinking about competing again?
Yeah, now that Dana's out of the picture, yep. I have a chance.
Okay, let's all talk about that for a minute. How many people were so stoked when he won that card? Like, I was like,
it was amazing.
I was torn. I have to be honest, because I was like,
I know. I cried. You loved him at the regional shows.
Yeah, but honestly, he was the guy that came second. Is a really good friend of mine.
Oh, Alex.
Oh,
yeah.
Alex, and he lost by a point. Yes. One pose. Alex lost by one pose. And it was like it was hard for me. I was rooting for both. I don't know. It was tough. But on the other hand, Alex is very happy with this placing. He's not angry about it, and he's
I'm just talking to him too, Josh.
He's quite content. So
he's content. Mm-hmm.
So that's really good. First, he's not angry. So he can, which is really cool and really nice of Alex, right? Mm-hmm. It's the way it should be.
And then Mason won his pro card.
And then Mason,
good on him. Congratulations for that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so that's 3 pro cards, and they all qualified at a J&H show.
That's right.
Well,
good job.
I'm looking at jumping back in 2025. So, yeah.
Excellent. And Tiff, what's your next move?
Atlantics. So I can't stage marshal.
just letting you know.
Just let you know.
No, we have Jose. Jose is you two are 2 peas in a pod. You both are top notch. So we'll get Jose to your spot. Yeah. So, and Kevia, what about you?
Nothing. I got nothing. No.
I got nothing.
No. Next year.
I'll get back to you.
I took this year off, and next year is probably a write-off as well. So, again, probably just going to keep building and continue to judge. And, who knows, maybe 2026 I'll get back on stage, maybe doing what the Ben Weider might be, it will be at some point, the Natural Olympia. And they're making changes now to the natural stream, implementing 15 to 16 natural pro shows to qualify you now for the Ben Weider, which will probably which I talked to Ron about it, which will probably more than likely be the the natural Olympia. They just have to, you know, work out some details and get, you know, probably boost up the prize money, those types of things. A lot of things that are a lot of moving parts with that. So, yeah, that would be a goal of mine to go to one of the naturals, which is actually the natural show. Natural Pro Show will be in Ontario for Canada. It will be, I think, the day of the Natural Pro Qualifier. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard Rudy talk about. That the Natural Pro Show in Toronto will be around the same weekend as the Natural Pro Qualifier. So, yeah.
Okay.
Something to look forward to in the
that's great.
next year or so. But yeah, this year is pretty much done, and next year will be a write-off as well, just with you know, life and planning. But 2026, hopefully I'll make a little bit of an appearance, like a farewell tour, because I think that would definitely right. Yeah. So, yeah.
Cool.
That's great. That's it. Well, I want to thank Josh for letting us all come on. It was a great conversation. It was a little bit long, but
yeah, you're welcome, guys. It was a pleasure. Like I said, long time coming, and I'm glad that we did it.
Yeah, great having this chat and seeing you all.
Yeah. I'd like to thank everybody for participating. You guys all did great, and I think we all got our point across crystal clear. So
yeah,
right.
A lot of good information out there
in a fun way.
It's awesome.
So, yeah. It was fun.
Yeah. So,
thanks a lot.
And I just want to put it out there. If anybody ever has any questions about anything, I'm very easy to talk to. Just reach out to me. No filter, whatever you want to say to me or whatever you want to know. And if you ever want me to critique you on the spot, or if you ever want to just send me your photos, feel free to do that.
Even if you're not even a bodybuilder, she'll critique you. She'll just give you your opinion.
Just send her pics.
Yeah.
No, don't send her pics.
No, I'm kidding.
No. Kidding.
Make sure they're competitor pics.
Yeah.
Right.
I've gotten some other pics before too.
Can imagine.
I don't know who they were from, but that's happened to me before.
Not critiquing those.
No.
But thank you all so very much. It was great.
Right. Yes, thank you guys.
Awesome.
Great. See you later.
So when is it going to be live?
Hopefully, I try to get them on Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
Friday afternoons is always the goal. Sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Most.
All right, cut this part out. We're just.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we said our goodbyes already.
Yeah, perfect. But you guys all have a great night. Sorry for keeping you so late. It was a great conversation.
You guys too.
Yeah.
Great seeing you.
Right, take care.
Thank you.
Yeah.